Hello everyone, welcome to Your View. It's another exciting episode on the show. I am Moriah Afolabi Brown. As always, I have my lovely co-host here with me. Hi ladies.
Good morning.
How was your weekend?
It was great.
Nice. Okay, let's Google start with you since it was great. How was your weekend?
It was a very, very nice weekend. It was a busy one. I went to Ekpe on Saturday for the Youth Empowerment Summit by Honorable Olulade. It was fantastic. It was well organized. I mean, for someone, I've been to Ekpe once, but the direction to this place was, they put signposts at each junction to show you the way. I've never seen something like that organized here. It was really nice, and I think all their facilitators came. They sounded so well. It was a good event, and I think that we need to have more things like that would change the minds of the people.
Good.
After that, on Saturday, then on Sunday, I went to a party. It was a swimming party. I'm feeling very challenged. This year, I must conclude, I must learn how to swim before the end of the year. My children had fun, and I had fun too. One dancing competition. Generally, this weekend was packed.
That's good. I have never been to Ekpe before. I'd definitely like to go sometime.
I
always hear
there's a lot of development going on.
Somebody did a wedding or something like that. I think I went there, but I've never really...
Ekpe feels like you're not going to, you're not in Lagos. It's a long journey. After Ibejuleki, you are still traveling. I'm like, I see the Benny. It was a long journey.
Jumoke, how was your weekend?
My weekend was very quiet, but I bring you great tidings this morning. All the potholes in Okwebi have been patched.
Great stuff. In fact, our own area today we are seeing rocks. I will not see just plenty rocks on the road, but we know they're walking towards something. Hi, we had an eventful weekend. See, your eyes still red.
I was thinking you would come very excited.
Excited what?
The
airline is supposed to give me what's it called, comfort and peace. Gave me trouble yesterday night.
Serious?
I mean,
They cancelled your trip?
Although it's no fault of theirs. Aviation fuel was really scarce. So they cancelled a lot of flights. So we were just lucky to fly. We flew and it was really late. We landed into this past 11.
Wow.
Before we got to the house, it was like 12 midnight. Yeah. But we thank God, we're happy.
How was the party?
It was amazing. My husband's old school association, they went back to their secondary school to give back. They are celebrating 30 years upon graduation. So they rebuilt an economics lab. And the truth is there's a lot of work to be done because most of them were actually in tears when they saw some of the women went back to their hostels. Imagine if you go back to your hostel and you see that it's in a terrible state, that your children, I mean, abroad, most people that graduate from schools, they want their children to be alumni, I mean, to be part of the alumni of the school, to be an alumnus of the school. But in this
like
case,
100 years old, 200
years old. This one is just how many years old? I mean, the first set was 1982. And it's in a horrible state. So, I mean...
The first set of Nigerian Navy Secondary School was 1982 also.
Yeah, most of them started...
The school is in fantastic
condition. It depends on management, Jumoke.
Yeah.
It depends on management.
And this one is the Nigerian Navy who manages it, but it's in fantastic. You want your child to go there.
Command is the army that manages it. So, we thank God.
My school is also 50 plus years old. And
you can imagine,
really good job.
Fantastic job.
My weekend was also great. My daughter did the... No, she didn't graduate, but she was she presented. Yeah. This time last year, when they gave her the mic, she froze. And me and her dad was like, what are we going to do to this girl? But this year, she had really found her. See, they gave her the mic. She was really singing and dancing. I was like, both of us, I was like, huh? We couldn't
didn't know she was...
Yeah, we were shocked. Because we really, our teachers told us she had improved, but we didn't know she had really that improved. You know, we're so proud of her. She did a fantastic job. Yes, so let's take a break now.
What happened to your hand? You got it cut in teeth?
Hey, I was trying to cook food and the knife was too sharp. I bought new knives actually. I'm not used to these knives. So they kind of slipped my finger. Really? All right, let's take a break. When we come back, we'll look at the front pages of the newspaper. So many things happen, exciting. Some people working on body loan and so. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Right. Okay. Let's start with the punch. Arashi left with 24 police vehicles. says acting IG. Alleged 7 ex-DIGs took away 7 to 8 vehicles each. Picture here, 2 of the 8 military officers who were among the Turkish coup plotters. Buhari condemns attempted coup in Turkey. NJC recommends retirement of Justice Yunusa and Oshun George. EFCC quizzes pilot over 1.2 billion naira Ekiti poll cash. 9 killed, 4 injured in Ogun road crashes. Ghost workers. Federal government sends suspects list to EFCC. Jonathan directed Dasuki to give me 100 million naira, says Okukwe. 6 siblings die of food poisons in Anambra. And gunmen abduct Lagos monarch, killed wife and guard, and they kidnapped the baby.
I just want to quickly talk about those 6 siblings. I don't know if they're in other papers. These children, the parents, I don't think they mentioned where the parents went to or something, but, you know, apparently someone came into the house. The food that was kept in the house, the person poisoned the food, and all 6 of them, you know, were found dead. The state was in, you know, a state of, I mean, the state, according to the report, that it was boiling because they couldn't trace how this thing happened. The parents almost committed suicide when they found out that their children had passed. The only part that saddens my heart all the time when the police is being contacted to say, okay, something like this has happened, because 2 people posted the pictures of the dead bodies of, I mean, these children on Facebook, and they're calling on the police in Anambra State to intervene. So when they contacted the PRO in Anambra, they always give this statement like, "Oh, we are not aware." Why do they always say that? You know, why?
I'm going to attack you straight for this your question. When armed robbers attacked you, did you report?
No, but this one, it has gone viral.
No.
They don't pick it up.
Am I going to pick it off social media? You must make a statement. You must go to the police station to report every crime.
This is...
Okay. You can't report it and then they will say that they didn't hear.
Okay,
no,
all right.
I think
you don't agree?
My case is totally different from this. How can 6 dead bodies be lying down
and you're
telling me you're not aware?
All right, let's move on. Let's move on.
That is wrong.
The Nation, Buhari, coup no longer acceptable to change government. NLC PDP condemned Turkish coup attempt. 290 dead, 6,000 held. CBN okays no deposit for new accounts. That's great. EFCC grills pilot who flew 1.299 billion naira cash for Fayose and Obanikoro. And I got 100 million naira approved by Jonathan, says Okukwe.
As much as I want to talk about Okukwe, I'd like to talk about the president. What happened in Turkey over the weekend, it happened Friday night into Saturday morning. The president had gone on vacation. He was on his way back into the country, and army men rolled tanks, you know, to the airport. They didn't allow his flight to land, and he went on FaceTime and called the citizens of Turkey to defend their democracy. And I was very happy that people came out. Over 70 people lost their lives defending their country. Now, the president, Erdogan, is a civilian dictator, but the Turkish people were like, we prefer democracy, the worst democracy, to any military. And, you know, and the military were shocked. The coup attempt failed. And so in this article, our president is saying that in this generation, coups are no longer accepted. I agree with him on that point. But once again, I ask, is our president the foreign minister? Because whenever something happens outside of the country, he says it immediately, he condemns it immediately. But when human beings are killed by headsmen in Nigeria, we don't hear him say anything.
Okay. Let's talk about doing saying 100 million.
Yes, so that is Oga, the top approved the 100 million. That is linked to
10 million to furnish his office, 30 million for just all sort of breakdown.
All sort of breakdown. But the truth is that, you see, inviting ex-President Jonathan is inevitable. I mean, we can't keep dancing around, you know, jumping around in circles. If these people are claiming that, okay, you approved this certain funds to go into certain things, then you should be the one that should be questioned.
Okay,
you know, instead of tying people down.
Moving on to Vanguard. Buhari orders IGP to reopen Bola Ige and Dokubo's cases. It's a new day, says Bola Ige's son. How Lagos monarch was kidnapped by wife. NNPC cost Nigeria $518 million in oil deal, says Nati. And we see here our former president visiting the Sultan of Sokoto and alongside Abubakar Tambuwal, Aminu Tambuwal of Sokoto. That's the governor. Misconduct, why NJC sacked Justice Yunusa and Oloyede. Violation of TSA, AGF queries GTB Stanbic Keystone Bank. And anxiety in bond market as federal government rates hit 14.5%.
So the Oba of Iba, Oba Yusau Goriola Useni, was kidnapped over the weekend. In the course of his kidnaps, the six men came into his house, his palace in Iba, and they had ammunitions with them. The Oba and his wife were already inside the room, and the Oba felt that his children were making noise, so he stepped out to caution them, only to be grabbed by the kidnappers. One of his wife was shot in the chest. He's in critical condition right now. One of his security man, his name is Okola on Sunday, died. He was shot and he died on the spot. An Okada man tried to stop their exit because they were walking on foot. They walked 2 kilometers on foot outside the Oba's palace, trying to get away through waterways. They got away through waterways. Another case of waterway escape. The man was shot. He died. Like about 4 people died in trying to rescue that man. And I'm really worried because right now he's at large.
And it's Lagos.
And it's Lagos, within Lagos. Iba is not a village.
Yeah. All right, Buhari has opened the Bola Ige's case. That's great news because, I mean, those are murders that really, really stirred up the polity then. Bola Ige and Dokubo's cases. So we hope that's really, we see the end of that. Moving on very quickly to Daily Sun. Arms procurement fraud. Probe shifts to Defense Ministry. Picture here of construction workers on the site at Lagos Ibadan Expressway in Chagamu. How Lagos Oba was kidnapped. Ondo Guba, APC holds primaries August 27th. NJC suspends 2 judges and recommends sack. JAM forwards provisional admission list to varsities and others. And Southeast South demand 65% oil wells. Interesting story, I thought.
I loved the story. Now, the Southeast and South state houses of assembly came to a joint assembly, and at the end of their meeting said that they are asking the federal government to ensure that the oil wells in the Niger Delta are owned, 65% of them are owned by people from these regions, as against 10% as it is right now.
Less than 10%, I guess.
Yeah, and that the 13% derivative as it stands is not, that's why they're having agitations. Yeah. I'm waiting to see how the federal government is going to respond
I think it's even good that it's clear what you want, you know, right? All of us, even the young people, because in any country, it's the youth that really change things. Now we know what you want. We, the others, even non-Niger Deltans, can actually help you push that cause. That, okay, give them 65% if that's what, and I think it's a fair request.
In addition to that, I don't think any individual should own oil wells anymore. I think that the state government in those areas should own those oil wells and use the resources accrued to them to benefit the society. No individual has a right to own an oil well.
On what basis are you owning it?
I don't get it. However, I wanted to comment on the story of
the NJC.
Sorry.
Yeah, we'll talk about it in this thing, our final paper.
All right. Okay.
CBN finally freeze the Naira funds forward contracts. NJC sacks Oshun judge for writing petition against Agbegbeshola. Men writes Buhari, names Data Spiff, Tombolo, others in dialogue team. Access Bank wins Carl Rush Sustainability Award. And federal government integrated energy agree on $87.8 million as refund for Yola Disco. All right.
There's a story you missed.
NGC. 3 judges have been sacked. Oh well, recommended to resign, but then we know they've been sacked. And it is what we've been calling for, that there should be justice within the justice system in such a way that judges that are found corrupt are dealt with. One of them was Justice Yunusa, who was found to have given interlocutory injunction against Stella Udua to stop EFCC from prosecuting her for the for the scandal of the Mercedes car deal. And I don't think any judge should do that. When somebody is being prosecuted, you don't say they shouldn't prosecute such a person. Also, the Justice Mrs.
Oloyede.
Oloyede in Osun State was also recommended to resign based on a petition against the government. One other judge, the third justice, is from Benue. His name wasn't mentioned, but the three of them, I know that there are more people that they need to weed out, because in our fight for democracy, in our fight for good governance, we would resort to the justice system, and they need to be clean.
Okay. Do you agree with why they're asking Justice Oloyede to resign?
I don't entirely
understand.
I thought it was a bit questionable, because, I mean, I don't know.
She wrote a petition against the state government asking that they should be clearer on how they spend their state allocation. Yes. She mentioned the spending of money to finish the airports. Mm-hmm. The state government replied and said that no, it was the PDP government that started the day they just finished it. And I mean, if it's just for writing petitions, shouldn't you answer? Shouldn't you just answer the petitions? I for one would think that I have a right to write a petition against my state governor.
Okay, well, unfortunately, we can't take any more on front page review. That's all we can take. When we come back, usually we do health things on Tuesday, but we thought of bringing this issue to fore. That's kidney transplant. We're going to have a guest on the show right now talking about life after kidney transplant. This is because lots of people recently have died because of relapse on kidney diseases. So we needed the better education on how do we manage people who have had the kidney transplant. If you need more knowledge on that, stay tuned. And later, we're going to have a doctor in the studio to help us understand how to even prevent it in the first place. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Now, kidney transplants are one of the most common transplants in the world, and leading a normal life can be very challenging. Joining us to share her struggle through kidney disease and life after kidney transplant is Mrs. Abimbola Gadri Nicholson. Welcome to the show, madam.
Good morning.
Good to have you on.
Thank you.
Now, as I said earlier, we've had a lot of celebrities, even people we know that for some reason they have a relapse. And so we keep asking the same question. What causes this relapse that people have that cause them to lose their lives because of the transplant? What's your story like? When did you get diagnosed for kidney, and how did you get the donor, and how have you been living your life?
Okay, first of all, I was diagnosed with kidney failure in 2012. Okay. But prior to that, I've been a diabetic for almost 30 years. Okay. Wow. So you have to find out what is the diagnosis. You know, my diagnosis was diabetes. Okay. It could be drug-induced. A lot of Nigerians take a lot of painkillers. And some of the kidney diseases can be caused by something as simple as, well, we will say ibuprofen. I don't know what would be the equivalent of ibuprofen. So a lot of can be diagnosed from that. It could be heart conditions too. You continue to retain fluid. It could be hypertension. So there's several reasons for kidney failure, and mine was, you know, long-term diabetes, you know, chronic diabetes. And so in 2012, I was diagnosed with going into renal failure, and I mean the only treatment, of course, is a transplant. So I mean, you don't just say, okay, you need a kidney transplant, and then tomorrow
you find one.
You find one. It was a long process. I was on dialysis for a year and a half. Wow. And actually, a year and a half is one of the shortest times. You go to a center and you get the dialysis done. And I know people that have been going for dialysis for years. I'm talking 10, 20 years, and have still not found a match. I think the key, so...
I'll let you pause for a second, because over here in Nigeria, you travel to India, you come back with a match, and they do. They ask you for a match. Your family members, for your wife, your brother, your sister comes with you, and they do the transplant. It's almost as easy as that.
That's what amazes me. That has baffled me ever since I hear about the kidney transplants in India, and the repercussion, and those who come back and they last a year, if that. It was a long process. My first donor actually was my daughter. She was supposed to be my donor. And it took 6 months of testing. You first go, you get your name put on a national list, and then you start the testing. You have to test, they check your, it's not just blood type. There's a misconception that if you're A and the donor is A, that's it. They type tissue, they type your mental stability, they type your financial situation, whatever your medical history is. Like, for instance, my husband could not donate to me because he's on 2 blood pressure medicines. So that right then eliminated him.
Wow.
What of your daughter? Yeah, go ahead.
My daughter, she was fine. We were at the very last stage. We have what you call a pre-op, which is done 5 days before the surgery. They check your blood counts, make sure you're not going to lose blood, you don't have an infection or anything, any chemistry imbalances. Well, at the very last test, then we found that she had a low platelet count, and that platelet count had been dropping over time. But
was she anxious?
No, the thing is, it's idiopathic. That is her makeup. Okay. No matter what, she's going to have a low platelet count.
Okay.
And even though it does not affect her, but certain situations, if she were to have surgery or to have a child, they would give her medicines to help her through that. But as far as donating for me, the doctor said no, that this is a condition, and that ruled her out.
Okay, so the reason we have you here today is because we have a lot of people who eventually, when they find money, after the transplant, 1 year, 2 years down the line, they eventually lose their life. Listening to you, is it because we go to India and maybe they're not taking as much precaution as you had? They're not testing.
Because you're in the US.
I think it's the testing.
Yeah.
The testing is very intense. I don't know how many urine samples that my daughter and eventually my donor had to go through. I mean, you do sonograms. They find out which kidney to take. It's just not, okay, well, we'll take your left kidney. They look to see which is the better viable organ. Is it the left one? Is it the right one? Even for me to receive that kidney, some gets put in the front. Mine's in the front. Some is in the back. It depends on how your veins and arteries form, because the kidney has, there's a lot of pressure of blood going through, so you don't want a fragile vein or artery. So they place it where the artery is at its utmost best.
Wow.
So like I was saying, there's a lot of testing. I mean, it was 6 months of testing.
Your lifestyle now, managing the fact that post-surgery, because the reason we brought you here was because a lot of people are dying because of they're not able to manage it. Some people go back to alcohol, some people go back to drinking. So what's your lifestyle? What's your routine like?
My routine, this is my routine.
This specifically
this is for today.
Whoa.
This is for today.
Medication. Wow.
Wow.
This is for today.
That's a lot of stuff.
It's like Smarties.
Morning, afternoon, evening.
This is my.
Whoa.
So you take this, and how is your diet like?
Okay, so the medicines are timed. It's 8 in the morning, 8 in the morning, 12 o'clock in the afternoon, 8 in the evening, and 9:30 at night. I do lab tests right after surgery. Lab tests were done twice a week. Then it went to once a week. Then it went to every 2 weeks. And now I do lab tests monthly. I'm 2 years post.
Wow.
And they adjust your medication based on those lab values.
Okay, so
obviously
it is being you're checked up regularly.
Regularly.
Post. And then medications are given to suit you. What she asked was your diet, because in Nigeria we tend to eat a lot of things that are considered unhealthy, and when you now go through such a surgery, what did you have to stop eating?
Let me pause you for a second. I have a call. Let me check it. Okay. Biodun, are you there?
I'm online.
Good morning. Please go ahead, Biodun.
Good morning.
Morning.
Yeah, I just want to talk about your report on the killing in the Nugu. Hello?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. What really happened is that when people call the police don't normally respond. There was a time I had an issue of armed robbery in my apartment,
Sir, unfortunately, today we're talking about renal failure. There are lots of people out there who have this disease. I don't want to take up time on that. When we talk about police issues concerning violence and all that, we can then take on that call. I do apologize. I have to cut you off. Madam, you were talking about the diet. What exactly did you stop according to what Tokwe asked?
You know, funnily enough, we talk about the diet, and of course I live in the U.S., and the U.S. diet is not the most, I mean, everything is fried and baked, and, you know, it's not the best. But during dialysis, that's where I'm diabetic. So my diet has already been modified from having diabetes. So, you know, you don't want the high carbs, you know, I mean, everything's in moderation. If I'm going to eat, I mean, I eat eba, I eat pounded yam, but I'm not going to eat like, you know, three bowls of pounded yam and 6 pieces of meat, you know, everything's in moderation. But funnily enough, you know, going through dialysis, that's where the diet started. And you were told that, first of all, you can't eat out more than twice a week. I hardly ate out twice a month, right? Okay, you couldn't eat processed meats, like the hams and the bacon and the turkey and the sausage that you put in sandwiches because of the high salt content. In our house, we have this joke. If there's a storm, a snowstorm, a rain, a flood, or whatever, so far as mommy has onions, tomatoes, and
cabbage.
Not even cabbage, onions, tomatoes, and oil.
We live.
We live. We're not looking for canned soup and canned this and that. So I was told to cut out tomatoes. That was one thing, which wasn't too bad because anytime you eat tomatoes in our food is when you're eating stew. How many times a week do you really eat stew? Once a week. Everything is in moderation, so I could handle that.
All right, let me take this call from, I think Adeoye. Good morning, are you there?
Hello, good morning.
Good morning, sir. Please go ahead.
Yeah, please, I just want to ask that what actually are the symptoms of kidney failure? I mean, how can you know that your kidney is failing?
All right, I'll direct that question to our doctor who's coming up next. The reason why I wanted Mrs. Bibula to come is to help people understand the real practice of somebody living with
not just the practice. From what she said now, it means that when you are going through the same dialysis and all that, these are the kind of questions you should be asking your doctors. It's not just, okay, so what, you know, because
what should I eat? What should I not eat?
It has taken a long process. It's taken a long time for her to get to where she is today.
Aside from that, because one of the problems we found is that people, just like you said, I have kidney failure, I need a transplant, I need 4 million naira. They give you 4 million, find 4 million, maybe after 2-3 months, you go to India. You go to India, they say invite your sister, your brother, your mother follows you, there's a match, they do your test, and you're back with the kidney.
In 4 weeks, you're back.
And that is so, look, after I had mine, even 10 days into my transplant, I was back in the hospital.
Why?
I started to reject.
Wow.
I actually spent more time, I spent 10 days at that stretch than when I had the initial transplant. I spent 5 days in the hospital. When I had the initial reject, I went back in for 10 days. And again, it's the medicine. It is the medicine. I was pumped with so much medicine to flush the toxins and because it's a foreign body. And I was, you know, though you're scared, but they say that is like, there's going to be one time that you will come back to the hospital for a reject.
So imagine if you did in India and you're back in Nigeria and then you have a reject.
Who's going to manage it?
All right, so let's take a, thank you very much, madam, for being, I think it was pretty revealing how we're getting your story. When we come back, we'll speak to a nephrologist who's going to explain to us how do we get to this point and how do we even manage it in Nigeria? What do we have available for us in Nigeria that can help us manage? I know you're in the US, but what do we have in Nigeria that can help a kidney patient? Stay with us, we'll be right back. Welcome back. Now, each year, 17,000 new cases of kidney failure are diagnosed. According to a report, 36.8 million Nigerians are probably currently facing some various stages of kidney diseases. Also, a new study has linked consumption of red meat to kidney failure. Joining us to enlighten us is a consultant, a nephrologist, Dr. Jacob Awubusuyi. Welcome to the show, sir.
Good morning, viewers.
Yes, you've been hearing what we're talking about, but I'd like you to start from the basics. What is the cause of renal failure?
Well, there are so many causes of kidney failure. Some can produce failure within a few hours, and then for some, it takes a very long time. Okay, so for instance, if somebody has very severe diarrhea and is vomiting, loses a lot of fluid, blood flow to the kidney is reduced in that instance, and within a few hours, somebody can actually develop kidney failure.
Wow.
Gunshot injury, and the person is bleeding a lot of infections. Those can actually cause kidney failure within a few hours to 1 or 2
I'd like
days.
you to stop. Sorry, but the caller had said, what are the symptoms? Because in Nigeria, once you're ill, you're either being treated for malaria or typhoid. Nobody even thinks of
No, kidney failure.
Kidney failure. So what are those things you, even as a person, look out for?
Well, the early symptoms are those of feeling tired, vomiting, the legs can swell up. I'm now looking at severe kidney failure. You can actually have a lot of protein, so the urine is foamy, is bubbly. Then as the disease progresses, the urine output diminishes. And so you can, when it's really severe, the person can actually convulse, and then some actually go into coma. Okay, so really, but the very early symptoms are those of having bubbly, foamy urine. Okay.
Our guest mentioned earlier how some other disease predisposes you to kidney. In our case, it was diabetes. He said some others might be overusing ibuprofen, or maybe painkillers or heart failure. What common disease do we have in Nigeria that might predispose you towards having renal failure?
Yeah, hypertension is one.
Okay.
Diabetes, as she rightly mentioned. We have a lot of people with HIV. So we have quite a number of people with sickle cell disease. Okay. Then there is what we call glomerulonephritis. Don't worry about the, the high sounding big word. It's actually the patient's body producing some kind of proteins. We call them antibodies to certain intrusions, probably an infection or so. And the antibodies will try to neutralize those infecting agents. And our kidneys being a kind of sieve, you can have those antibody and then the antigen, that combination, getting deposited in the kidney, and that will trigger a lot of inflammation within the kidney and tissue destruction within the kidney. So those are very common things that we see.
We have our guest on the show because we have had lots of people who go for kidney transplants in Nigeria, come back, and a few years after die. And she has shared her own story and how she had to change her lifestyle. What is it that we are doing wrong? Those people who stay in Nigeria and have kidney transplants, what do you think is the cause of their relapse and death?
Can I say something real quick here? Yes. Even in the U.S., just because you've gone into kidney failure does not mean you automatically are put on the transplant list. You have to be able to have a support system, or even you personally, to be able to handle the transplant. Okay. Like all of these medicines, you have to be able to understand that the green one is for this and the white one is for that, and you have to be able to have that cognition to understand. So, and again, if you're an alcoholic, if you're a drug addict, you probably end up at the bottom of the list, because they'll give a kidney to those who are able to keep it. As opposed to someone who says, okay, here's a kidney, and then tomorrow I start drinking again. Hey, I've got a new lease on life. I've got a new kidney, so I can go back to my old ways. So they do a psychological test with you to make sure that you are able to accept that kidney. So it's not just, okay, I'm sick, I'm ill, So not everyone gets a kidney. It's not automatic.
May I pick from the story? She said there was a broadcaster in Nigeria who had a kidney failure, and everyone rallied around him to raise the money. And a few years after his transplant, he said he couldn't stop drinking, and that's why he died. So my question to you, sir, what is it that we're doing here?
Well, let me say, transplantation is a very complex issue, and financing the procedure and keeping the kidney is actually also huge. I mean, in terms of the monetary aspect of it and a lot of other components. In Nigeria, it's not that all what she went through are not being done.
Oh, okay.
The process is pretty much
the same.
similar. It's the same.
Okay.
Because you need to evaluate the patient, evaluate the donor, and there are standard ways of doing that. And but the issue is, for most of our transplant patients, they pay out of pocket. They actually spend their own money, or get sponsored by, family, religious organizations and so on. And as you see, people tend to get fatigued. After some time, that fund is no more coming. And instead of taking your drug as specified, you try to cut corners. And so
you go all religious. God has saved me.
Taken control of.
But I have an auntie who had a surgery in Nigeria, and her major complaint, although it's not kidney, is that her consultants in Nigeria, the people who went to do their own surgeries in India, their consultants are readily available to them via phone. She will go and sit down. They say, he's not around today. And the long list of people waiting. So is it inadequate doctors and consultants?
I think it's part of the problem. But when it comes to transplant, it's not inadequate doctor. I mean, it's most transplant centers have their nephrologist number given to the patients, and some will even call you at odd hours. So,
okay, let me come to you. Are there studies showing that this might be hereditary, or it can be passed on from generation to generation, or it's just something that is peculiar to a person?
I'm not a doctor, and I'm not going to pretend to be one. I do have a medical background, though, but it's your genetic makeup. Like for me, my family, there's diabetes in my family, and I just heard from you now, it could be sickle cell, can be caused by sickle cell. I do have sickle cell anemia in my family. So, but I don't think the actual kidney disease, you pass that on. It's the conditions that make you get kidney disease that you pass on, that you can
like
pass on. Diabetes.
Okay, cool.
And I can't even take an aspirin. We talk about consultants. I'm not allowed to take an aspirin or increase it to 2 tablets if I have a headache without calling my consultant. And I have a team. I have my nephrologist is my number one. I have my endocrinologist, who's my diabetes doctor. I have a cardiologist, and I have my primary care, and I see them all. Right now, it's every 3 months. Wow. I see them as a team every 3 months, and this is 2 years post.
I wanted to ask because from everything we said, people after the long process of diagnosis and dialysis, they go to India when they have concluded, and they go do the surgery and come back. Now we know that healthcare in Nigeria currently, I mean, there's no support from the government. Anybody that has a major issue, you would have to look for the money, source for the money. What do you think the government can do? How do you think the government can step in? Because you see, we can't have people dying all the time and we keep blaming and blaming. We know we have money. We can't always complain we don't have money. There's money somewhere. What is the process that you think the government can begin to engage, especially for people that are living with this kind of disease?
Well, I think in many other countries, even in African countries, government is a major source of funding for health. And people in government, let me say the politicians, those who hold political posts and are in a position to influence things, should actually start looking into making health a priority.
Okay.
Because if you are not healthy, productivity is so low. You actually, even if you have the best of brains, you are not able to give to the society, even to yourself, the best that is required. So really, I think our government should start looking into models. I mean, take for instance, Kenya.
Sorry to pause you for a second. I have somebody on the call. I've been waiting for a while. Adewumi from K2, are you still there?
Yes, I'm here. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you? I'm first-time caller.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Good morning. Where is Jenny?
She's not here
today.
All right. I just want to ask the doctor if the kidney problem is hereditary.
Okay. We answered that a few moments ago. It's not.
Well, let me just answer her. There are some diseases that are hereditary.
Okay.
Not all of them. So you can acquire kidney disease, and some of them you can actually get it from your parents. Some of them have very long names. Polycystic kidney disease, where you have a lot of holes in the kidney, and progressively, it's hereditary, to a large extent. Talked about sickle cell disease. That's also hereditary, and so there are quite a few like that you can actually
okay, let's take a quick break. And we come back, we'll ask some more questions from the phone calls and tweets. Stay with us, we'll be right back. Welcome back. Now let's take some tweets, Jumoke.
Ademi Roger says, is there any research on what the major causes of kidney failure is in Nigeria? Can lifestyle be a major cause? Joseph Mayomi says, let the doctor speak with the viewers. He's talking as if he's in his bedroom. Omolaja says, the government needs to do more concerning renal failure. The facility is grossly inadequate and very expensive. We need more funds. One more question. Ayodele says, what are the things we should not eat? Okay. And then Daniel Tommy says, if tiredness, vomiting, foamy urine, etc. are symptoms of kidney failure, it then means majority of us are liable.
All right, let me take Olushola from Ikorodu. Are you there, Olushola?
I am. Good morning.
Good morning. Please go ahead.
I want to ask the doctor about Omireburo bitter leaf juice.
What?
Bitter leaf juice?
Yes, for the kidneys. Is it recommended for the kidneys? 1, 2. What is the safest way to enjoy it? Is it by boiling to get the juice or squeezing to get the juice?
Thank you.
Well, to be honest with you, I have very limited experience with bitter leaf. I don't know, I'm not aware of it having any medicinal use, so I'm sorry I cannot advise you on that.
Okay. Why is it our Orthodox doctors in Nigeria, they just go abroad and learn the Igbo ways, our own about solutions?
No, please let me just talk, I'll just take 1 minute to explain this. You see, the issue here is, if you have a new drug in the orthodox medicine coming out, and what it goes through is you have several phases of what we call trials. You experiment with it with animals. Say, well, this is dangerous in tiny animals, bigger animals, all sorts. You get a lot of data. Then volunteers come and you try and adjust which one is safe for human beings. And you now try it on a larger scale. So by the time the drug gets to the market, it's taking maybe 10, 15, 20 years of testing and collecting a lot of information on it. So by the time you use any medicine, you know that, well, at least you know the safety profile and all that. But if you look at the herbs, yes, they've been around. Some of them are a mixture of what has been around and what is new, and so you can't really say much about it. So that's why we.
Can I say more? You know, there are a lot of questions.
Let me take this call 1 second. Kule, are you there?
I'm Susan.
Good morning. Please go ahead.
Good morning.
Morning. Go ahead,
please. First-time caller.
Welcome to the show.
Yeah, I just want to ask. I want to ask the doctor. What is the effect of what is the effect of the consumption of herbal mixtures on our kidney?
On the kidney.
Because they are very rampant in this, especially the various bitters that are severally advertised on the media.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much. You want to check up something?
Well, there are a lot of questions on what are the symptoms.
What should we eat?
Well, apart from what should you eat, mainly it's okay. How do I know I'm in renal failure? And everything is not. I mean, it's not one size fits all. For me, I mean, I live in the U.S. I see my doctors regularly, but for a period of like 3 months, my main symptom was I was not urinating. I was not urinating. And then in my mind, I'm not urinating. So what would you do if you don't urinate?
Take fruit juice.
You drink more.
Water.
You drink more liquid.
Yeah.
Well, think about it. And the more liquid I was drinking, the bigger I was getting.
Wow.
Because my kidneys are not processing it.
Wow.
I mean, my eyes, I had bags under my eyes. My legs were like elephant legs. I mean, you could touch me. The edema. I mean, it was just, and I couldn't move. If I would lay down at night to sleep, I felt like I was drowning.
Oh.
Because there was fluid on my chest. Wow. The fluid that I keep on drinking because drink more water. You know what I mean? Drink more. In fact, that is my joke at work. I always want to say that during the meeting, I gotta go pee. And I was able to say that, you know, I gotta go pee, you know, thanks to God and everything. Yeah.
Thanks for that, because that's a good revelation. Now, coming from the last question we just heard, what are the effects of those bitters? Because that's commonly available here. Everybody feels when you take something that is bitter,
they are
okay. We know that some herbal preparations actually can damage the kidney, and a few of them have come from other African countries. I mean, where they've been tested, like people take the raw cap, which impala fruits. These are from probably from South Africa, and they've been shown to damage the kidney. Okay. In the 80s, the green water that select people take used to be something that, I mean, there was a time we were seeing a lot of people from that religious sect, you know, having kidney failure, you know, and though it wasn't proven really, but many of them actually, I mean, had kidney failure, and there was this history of being associated with having taken the.
Okay, we have to have the final question because we need to round up. What causes that relapse? What is that thing that makes people go back into very quickly? I'd like both of you to take that. Yes, sir.
Well, the issue is, if you're not taking your drug, those drugs are meant to suppress. I'm sure she showed you this. Yeah. So, if you have a transplant, you have a kidney in, and you are not suppressing your body's ability to destroy that kidney, obviously the body will destroy the kidney. And so when we manage people with kidney transplant, we try to balance, you know, the suppression of the immune system with the risk of infection. Okay, so some people develop infections, and some develop some cancers. Some develop heart problems.
Are these drugs expensive?
They are very expensive.
Wow.
I take antiviral.
So the government must subsidize.
Antiviral, antibacterial. I take anti-inflammatory, and I take the immune suppressants, because you're still, even though you've matched that other person, your body still knows it's not mine. So it continuously wants to get rid of it.
I hope that doesn't affect your other, like you
organs.
that, you might be getting subjected to easily catching cold and other.
The first couple of weeks, I was not allowed to go out. I couldn't hold a baby. Anyone who's taken a live inoculation, I couldn't be around that person. So
unfortunately, that's all we can take on the show. Thank you so much for coming.
You're welcome. Thank
you. I think we learned quite a bit here today. That's all we can take. Have a lovely day. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
We wish you health, health.